Man, I hope this joint work.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to the page now to make sure you're good.
Zing.
Oh, come on. It still says, okay, thank you. We're here. Okay. I was about to be mad. I was about to be so tight.
Hey, we are here.
Oh,
Sweet.
We're working. I'm gonna give it a little bit. I'm gonna give it about a couple minutes real quick. Not one for the viewers to get their chance to come in here,
Right.
and then wait for
Makes
Al,
sense.
and then we'll do introductions. What's going on, Aiden? Nice to see you again. Nice to see you again. Appreciate you choosing MVH for your Spider-Man
What's up,
content
Aiden?
tonight. Thank you. R J. Yo, what's up, man? I don't know what your username says, but that's just what it said to me. Always, my boy, what's going on? It's been a while, my dude. He said, "What's up? What's going on, man? Nice to see you tonight, or in the morning because you're in the UK. What are you doing up? Is the question.
I don't know. What time is it in the UK? 7, 8,
Good question.
12, 1, 2. It's like 3 in the morning.
It's
Go
like
to bed.
3 in the morning away.
Yeah, go to bed. I mean, Spider-Man's awesome, but go to bed.
Oh, wait, so I know you got school. I know you got school. You should be sleeping. But it has been a bit though.
31. Wow. Oh,
That's
wow.
pretty early.
Or wait.
Or late.
I slept during the day. That's awesome.
Okay,
You're
you slept
Batman.
during that.
You are Batman.
I'm now seeing his chat saying I slept through today. Why is it coming in late? Like really late. All right.
How bad am I? I did a DC thing on Marvel.
No, it's fine. Like last night on Sam's stream, we ended up talking about the Snyder Cut.
We did. We straight up did.
On a Spider-Man stream, so it's literally all good. You said profile picture says it all. Awesome. All right. So
Hello,
back
Al.
in the chat. We got Al back.
Yeah, I'm on my laptop now. See if this thing.
Yeah, I like your new background.
Yeah, Al had a good change background.
Thanks. Yeah, glitches a little bit less. It still give me a little bit of trouble, but it's all right.
All right. I think you're ready to go. All right. Let's do it.
Let's do this.
All right. What's going on, guys? Matthew V. Haynes here, a.k.a. The Clockmaster. We are live. Going to talk about Spider-Man No Way Home. For those who are watching this on the recording, for those who are watching this later, appreciate you guys clicking this video. We're going to talk spoilers. This is a spoiler discussion, so if you have not seen the film by now or you've somehow avoided all the spoilers on Twitter, please do not engage yourself in this stream because we will be talking about any and everything. So we're going to introduce, we have some guests with me today, so we're going to start with you.
That's me. All right, so now my audio is still a little bit glitchy, you guys, but hopefully everybody can hear me fine. I am Al from the channel Dark Side Reviews. Real excited to be here, man. And for some of you all, if you've not been or heard me talk about Spider-Man before, I wasn't real excited about this movie until I saw it, and then things changed. So I'm excited to get into it.
Awesome. We got my good old dojo buddy. First time on the stream.
What's going on? Thanks for having me on, man. I really appreciate it. I feel like this has been like a minute coming, and I'm so excited to talk about Spider-Man today. What's up, everybody? My name's Franklin, aka Bagboy. I'm a streamer over on Twitch.tv. I primarily play League of Legends, but most of the time I'm just talking to my chatters about what's ever going on in pop culture. So like anime, video games, et cetera, especially the MCU right now. So if that interests you, you can find me on Twitter at /Bagboy, and same thing for Twitch. And again, thank you for having me on, Matt. I really appreciate it, dude. I can't wait to talk about Spider-Man. I've been aching since Friday to talk to you about it, man.
Hey, my boy. I had to get you on the stream because I know we had to talk about it.
I know, all weekend, dude.
Yeah, dude. All right. So next we got Mr. Durbin.
What is up? My name's Durbin. I got this channel, Durbania, so I do a lot of stuff you see Matthew do. I have movie reviews. I rank movies. I talk about the show The Chosen a whole lot. So if you want to come over, hang out, I'd love to have you. And I'm really excited to be on this panel right now to talk about Spider-Man because this movie was awesome. And to nerd out about it with all my fellow nerds, I'm super, super excited.
Awesome. We got my boy, Team JVS in the building.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Sam. I'm the editor and critic of Team JVS. We do movie reviews, interviews, discussions, talk everything film, movies, and of course games and entertainment. But yeah, this was a surprise hit for me. I'm really excited to talk more about this, even though I am deprived of sleep because of my children. So if if it looks like I'm fading, it's not because I'm not engaged with what's going on. It's just because I probably need to go somewhere and go to sleep. But thanks for having me here, Matt.
Of course, man, as always. All right. So I do have a list of questions. Some for me. I borrowed some questions from Sam because we were also on his channel last night having a really deep, long conversation about Spider-Man.
Oh my god.
So some of those questions will be brought over here. But I want to ask you guys. Anyone, feel free to start. What is your overall? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Sam. This for you.
Oh god.
Oh man. Wow, dude. What a way to start.
Dude, what a compliment. Look, it's too early. How much minutes we in? We in 5 minutes in the stream.
I've already said I don't have much sleep. And I don't have time to even process that comment. But thank you. Whoever you are. Thank you so much.
You look like a god. Oh man. The first comment of the night. Oh my. Okay. All right.
Okay.
What is Imagine just reading that, like you're about to say something, and that's the first thing your eyes sees when you're like, all right, back to subject. What are your overall thoughts on the film? We'll dive deep, but what did you think about this movie for those who haven't seen your separate reviews? Anybody, feel free to start.
I loved it. And it's kind of funny how much fun I had with it because, like, the Sam Raimi trilogy, for instance, didn't really stand out to me. I like Spider-Man 2, but otherwise I'm not a fan of the Raimi trilogy. And yet, when those villains crossed over, I was so excited. When Tobey Maguire stepped through that portal, I was cheering with everybody else. It was so awesome. And I like the Amazing Spider-Man movies, and I loved Andrew Garfield. I love what they did with his character, how we kind of picked up with him where we left off with him, and we got to see some resolve to his character arc and what happened with him at the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2. We'll go into that later. But yeah, I liked it. I thought overall this was a ton of fun, and it was very cool, not just that they crossed over all these characters, but how they used them and carried on their character arcs. It was awesome.
I guess I can jump in next. I mean, one of the things I was impressed about with this was the fact that it wasn't just a story built around the Sinister Six. I know the Sinister Six weren't really in there, but maybe they were. Maybe we'll talk about this because I noticed something in one of the frames that I saw. But I like how the story was broader, and it really was a story based on Spidey and not so much just his conflict with the Sinister Six. And that's what impressed me because I was worried that we were just going to get a story where we just kind of got this visual spectacle with him fighting all of these villains from different Spider-Man universes, and everything was going to kind of ride on the backs of that. And that I was not looking forward to. So the way they executed this, I thought was really good in terms of how they really built the story around Spider-Man.
Yeah. I really did enjoy it. I can't wait to see it again. Honestly, I can't wait to buy this film because I feel like just like the old like Spider-Man 2, there's something about it because I mean, I'm not comparing it to The Dark Knight, but when you think about superhero films and what their capacity is, it was kind of like it set like a certain bar. And like with this film, like it's so many amazing moments, no pun intended, that I just really want to revisit. And it's not just nostalgia because they brought out and fleshed out characters that I didn't even care about from the past two movies, as well as allowing Tom Holland's Spider-Man to truly walk into the line of what we know of Peter Parker, what we know of Spider-Man through his struggle, through his loss, and also through his sacrifice ultimately towards the end, which I know we're going to go into full spoilers, but I really did appreciate what was done in this film. And it wasn't just nostalgia. I think there was some really key things that made this movie stand apart from some of the other superhero films that came out this year.
Yeah, I totally agree, actually. I think this movie was something that I have personally been looking forward to for so long, and I didn't even know it. Like, I've been a fan of Spider-Man since the Sam Raimi trilogy. That was my first superhero movie. So to see him finally make his return back in, and honestly, I'm not a huge fan of the Andrew Garfield portrayal, but man, I feel like he knocked it out of the park with this one, honestly. Like, most of the time I was spending just watching Andrew's part going, this guy is hilarious. And in a lot of ways, I was hoping Toby was going to like step up to it, which he did, of course. But overall, is it hard to not give it a 10 out of 10?
Yeah.
Seriously.
Look, if you were in the stream that we were in last night, you would ask the same question.
You would ask the same question and more.
How do you give it below a 10? I don't understand.
Look, we had some strong fellas that was like,
It's a fact.
See, I've heard these,
I don't know.
Fact.
Well, I guess I have to go see my second showing then, honestly, and hopefully sooner rather than later.
See, I saw it twice, and the second time I saw it, I liked it more. If that's
I
possible.
believe it.
Yeah,
I believe that too. I did too.
I have yet to see it again. Just because Sam knows how busy it can get doing this critic stuff and trying to get everything done on time. Durbin knows, Al, y'all know what it is. So it's like I haven't got a chance to step out to the theater again. I'm so mad because like back in the day, man, like I would have probably seen it twice in the same day. Like
Right.
I have done that before for less.
I'm doing this with the Matrix tomorrow. I'm getting up bright and early to watch, the fourth Matrix, and I'll probably watch it again in the afternoon.
Later. That's the way to
wait.
go, man. Oh
Right.
man, I miss those days. You just like watch it twice in the same day, and like, oh yeah, no. But I mean, overall, for me, I've been saying it for those who've seen my review, and for those who haven't seen it, this movie was just everything that I wanted. Everything that I wanted from this movie is what I got, and I went in very excited, and I left excited. I had some question mark areas where I'm like, okay, I don't know what they're gonna do. I was prepared for them. I was legitimately, honestly prepared for them to not have Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, even though it was extremely unlikely that they would not put them in there.
Right.
But I was like, just in case, it's because I'm like, you know what? It's this company. Sometimes you just don't know.
It's so true.
Like, so I'm like, maybe not. So I walked in there and I had two reactions prepared, depending on if I saw them or not. But I left it, and I think, and what I mean by I had two reactions prepared, I was just expecting. If they weren't in there, I was gonna say. I already said to myself, I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna be upset. I'll just be happy with what I got, right?
Yeah.
I'm like,
true.
and then I'll just push it along, pretend like it never happened. But if they are in it, then I'm just gonna lose everything, and I'm just gonna go crazy. So, for me, I mean, thankfully we had the latter. So, yeah, man, it was just a great experience for me, and going with a fan crowd. On opening night was just such an experience. Especially during COVID. It's been. I haven't, experienced that since pre-COVID.
Right.
Like, I think the closest I got to that was maybe Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi.
Which wouldn't have the same fan reaction.
No, it didn't.
Right.
It did
Nothing
not.
like
It did not.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about being, in terms of being with a lot of people in the theater. Because I've just been going out to the critic screenings, and normally they're like, for me, it's been like 6 to 10 people in there, and they're normally really quiet and spread out. It's never really a packed thing. But I haven't been in a packed theater like this since Endgame.
Wow.
So it was interesting, and it was such a weird, because I'm very cautious with COVID and everything, but it was such a weird experience, but it was also very fun, just liberating to just be with fans who just loved Spider-Man and just wanted to be. We're all here for the same purpose. I said this in Sam's stream last night. People are running across, like, when the minute, and we'll get more into it later, but when Andrew started walking through that ring, we had dudes literally running from one end of the theater to the other hand, like high-fiving each other. People were jumping, like, it was
my
a thing.
gosh.
And I'm like, everybody was like, man, what is COVID? I don't know you, but I love you. Let's celebrate. Like, that's
It's a fact.
That's
awesome.
That's what it was. So yeah, it was interesting. So we're gonna get another question. I don't know if Al's Al looks like he's frozen. Like he's frozen there for a little
At
bit.
least he's frozen in an awesome pose.
Right, like he's
That
thinking about
console
something.
is very
intently,
stoic. It's
yeah.
He's like, I'm paying attention to you.
yes, I'm thinking very heavily about this conversation.
All right. So this is a question. So was there anything specific that you guys were looking for in this film that met your expectations, or was there anything that was just it didn't quite meet your expectations, but you were either okay with it or not okay with it? Anyone want to go?
I feel like I didn't have too many expectations because I was kind of like you, Matthew. I was kind of preparing myself for the idea that the other Spider-Men wouldn't be in this, even though it feels like it's the worst, best kept secret they've had, right? We all knew if you're bringing over the villains, why would you not bring over the actual Spider-Man? But since you don't know, you don't. So like, I'm like, I don't know what this is going to be. Tom Holland has not let me down yet. I love his Spider-Man movies so much. So I just thought, that's just what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in and I'm just going to enjoy it for what it is. So I seriously did not have any expectations, just hoping that it'd be really cool scenes with those old villains. And it exceeded what I was imagining. I mean, the stuff with the villains was amazing because literally you got to see these villains where we left off with them. And then we got to kind of explore where do they go from here. Like all the Doc Ock stuff is like he grabs Peter by the throat. And then that's the moment that he comes through to this other world. And so now we get to see him from that point as Peter Parker in our MCU fixes the thing on his neck. And that was just a really cool thing to get his journey. And then to watch Green Goblin just quickly become the main villain. The true arch nemesis was
seriously
very cool to watch. And that little deception that Goblin was playing, hiding behind Norman Osborn's eyes. And it's like all of that was amazing by itself. But then when Andrew Garfield stepped through that ring, and I don't think my heart allowed my brain to believe it at first because I saw it and I went, why does that Spider-Man's eyes look so weird?
Yeah, seriously.
Through, and my theater started to gasp and my heart just went, do I dare let the brain believe? And then the mask came off and I went, no. But then it even exceeded those expectations.
Right.
Because you continued both Toby's and Andrew's character arcs. You got a little bit about what Toby's been through since the third Spider-Man, and you see that he's the most mature of them all because he's the oldest and he's worked through it. But then Andrew, am I allowed to talk about the ending yet, or are we going to get into this later?
I mean, we'll get into it, but just go for it. Go for it, man. Go for it.
That slow motion MJ falling off the building. And it was the exact recreation of Amazing Spider-Man 2. And when Tom Holland couldn't catch her because Green Goblin caught him, and then you just see Andrew go for it, I just went, oh no. And I wanted her to live, not even for her sake, but for Andrew's sake.
Right.
Because I'm like, I don't know if this boy can take that twice.
No, he couldn't.
And when he caught her and the expression on his face when he landed, that said it all. Like, I mean, that was the completion of an emotional character arc that we never got because we didn't get a third Amazing Spider-Man movie. And now we got that. And that was probably like, there's a lot of emotional scenes in the movie, Aunt May and all of that. For some reason, that was the most emotional moment for me in the movie was Andrew's face when he caught MJ.
How much did you love that youth pastor comment on
that?
Look, Franklin, you been to church as a kid?
Oh, big time. Big time,
okay.
My friend.
Anybody that's been to church, we all know the youth pastor, the one youth pastor with the cardigan and the little like.
I had multiples of those, unironically. So yeah, there was a posse of mine.
Dude, that like connected to me on such a like deep level, like from my childhood, because I literally had a youth pastor like that back when I was a kid. I was laughing so hard. But yeah, no, Sam and Franklin, what was your was there anything that met your expectations, anything you were looking forward to, or
I can definitely speak on that, because the reality is I feel like the reason why they started revealing that the villains were in it in the trailers is because the leaked image of Andrew Garfield. I think that at this point they were like, you know what, it's out there, the Reddit article is out there, and we're going to try to see if in plain sight we can get people and pull them, you know, even though the secret is gone. And I can't believe, even though it was spoiled for us, that it made what #2 highest, weekend ever of all time in a pandemic. That's just unheard of and epic. But for me, it was kind of like, I was like, okay, well, they're gonna show up, the last 5 minutes, maybe. I was kind of like, they're not gonna get a lot of interactivity. We're not gonna get any character progression. The fact that, like you guys have all said and iterated, is that Andrew was able to have all the best parts of him. Because to me, the Amazing Spider-Man movies were flawed in the writing and execution because of what Sony, the power struggle that was going on back then. But he was not the problem. He was an amazing Spider-Man. I think he was amazing Peter Parker. And so with this, they were able to really hone in and show why he's such a great Peter Parker, why he's such a great Spider-Man. And he can do so much with just his raw emotions without even verbally saying anything.
Mm-hmm.
Just like he was saying, like, I mean, the fact is that he was having a PTSD moment because it was euphoric, because it was like, man, I was able to stop this time. But then he's still holding on all the weight of everything that happened before. And the fact that they were allowing these Spider-Men to both have so much screen time, I did not anticipate that. That was not something I prepared for. I hoped that Daredevil was going to be in it, but I was like, Matt Murdock is not going to be in this movie. Right?
10 minutes in.
And the fact that he had like a small snippet of a scene, but the fact that he's in the MCU as we know it.
The brick catch through the window was enough for me.
Yes. And I don't even know if any of you guys are watching Hawkeye. I don't even know what's going to be going on at 3 o'clock tonight.
Good
but
point.
I'm just saying, the future is looking awesome.
Oh, I'm telling you.
I can't wait.
That Daredevil show is my favorite. I love Vincent D'Onofrio, and to now have both of them existing in this MCU.
Right.
So Shan hasn't seen Daredevil, and hold up, so I put her onto it last week. So we're about to go on season 2.
Okay.
So we've been watching it. So like when we actually got to enough of like Kingpin content for her to appreciate the reveal in last week's episode.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, I'm rewatching Daredevil again. I'm excited. This is gonna be something we can talk about later. Because Franklin, I'll get to you. But rewatching Daredevil has me excited, but I'm also very scared because tonal wise, I don't want them to change certain things that make those characters great and what worked in that show. I don't know if it works with an MC. We can talk more about that later, I guess, because that's a whole conversation.
But it's a valid point that you make.
But that's a small concern, because I can see ways that they can work it out and that it fits. I can see them. But I will be lying, because Daredevil, we had dudes with their elbows, their bones like showing out, and like in the middle of the scene, and like Wilson Fisk like smashing heads through doors and all kinds of crazy stuff. So but anyway, so Franklin, I don't know if we got to you yet about your expectations and what you wanted. Anything met your expectations?
Yeah, man. So actually, there were 2 things I wanted to touch on really in particular. So my first expectation that I really wanted met, which was kind of niche, but I think there was definitely a camp for it, was for Doc Ock to return in just absolute gold. He's my favorite villain out of all the Spider-Men, like especially in the Sam Raimi trilogy. And I had seen all the interviews prior to the movie's release of, I believe his last name's Marina, right? Marina was like psyched about the role, and you could tell he was really jazzed about it. And you could see that shine through in this movie. I think he was potentially like in my top 3 favorite actors and characters in this movie. Like, I loved seeing him go from like super evil, instantly ready to kill Tom Holland, to like, nah, I'm actually going to help you fight all these villains in the end. Oh, so good. And then on the opposite end of the coin, in terms of things I had no expectations for, once again, was Andrew Garfield's like Spider-Man. I didn't like the movies as much. I know he's a great Spider-Man, but they turned that around specifically when he was catching MJ. Like, there was a small detail that I noticed, and I'm glad I read a couple articles and other people caught it. Like, he didn't shoot down the web to try and get her. He did this whole like tuck and roll kickoff technique to go and grab her. And all I could think immediately as soon as he touched the ground is, can you imagine how many times he thought about that in his head? Like through these years, he was like, what would I do if I was in that situation again? What would I do if that was... And he got that moment and he instantly acted upon it. And that that blew my mind, honestly.
That's I know Al's about to go up next, but it's a good point to that because Toby was talking about how he had thought about how he could have cured Norman.
Yeah, I was just
And I'm like,
exactly.
This is years. So that means that after this man died, he thought about all the weight of what he could have done differently, even though it wasn't even his fault. And it's so amazing that they would take so much time to, I guess, break down the essence of Peter Parker and why each one of them individually are so rich. Because that's just a subtle thing. Like some people, like they missed it, but I was like, wow, that's so pivotal to Toby's character and his progression. Just that statement alone.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
And I'll say it's like just to add more to that too is he must have just been replaying it over and over and over every night in his head, like it's like a simulation. Like,
seriously,
what could I have done?
A superhero, honestly. You look at Peter and Bruce and these things that they go through. It's like can't do it, can't do that.
Oh, negative, not a shot.
No. Or you can just be like Barry in the Flash and be like, you know what? I'm changing the timeline.
Yeah, but every time he changes the timeline, worse things happen.
That's what I'm saying. Like he doesn't think about it. He's just like, you know what? I'm just gonna change the timeline. So anyway, I love the Flash. Let me stop.
Yeah, seriously. And can I say one more time? In chat, Carlos Perez asked a really good question that I was thinking about as a Doc Ock fan throughout the movie. Like he was holding the power of the sun in his hands in Spider-Man 2, right?
Yo,
and then he
I forgot about that.
I did.
He holds the arc reactor, and I screamed internally. I was like, dude. Yeah, man, that was my exact reaction. Like he has more than the power of the sun in his hands. And I think he said the power of the sun in my hands. I was like, dude, oh man, way more than the power of the sun, you know?
Oh,
right.
I loved that.
Hey, bro, you just pulled the right cup of coffee there, Carlos. You wanted something, brother.
Good question, man.
Wow, I didn't even think about that.
I didn't think about that either.
Hey, now.
Hey.
Okay, we about to get in there. So, Al, did you catch the question? I know you were having technical difficulties.
Yeah, it's still glitching. No, I didn't catch the question. I'm sorry. What was the last question? I think I heard what was the last question? Sorry.
No. The question was just what were your expectations for the film? Was any of your expectations met? And were there any things that you weren't expecting that you were excited about or disliked?
I think most of my expectations were met. I mean, where I were probably exceeded because, like I said, the way that they built the story, I was impressed by. One of the things that I really loved was, I don't know if anybody talked about it, I love Dafoe in this. And the way he brought Green Goblin I thought was fantastic because for me, so far, he is the number one villain from Raimi's first movie that I thought was fantastic. So how he inhabited this role and how he came into this film with the other Spider-Man, but how they really kept the essence of who he was from the original, because I felt like that was a real respectful nod, right, to that first Spider-Man that we saw and how they brought him into this. So I was supremely impressed by all of that, by the way that they treated all of the villains except for one. I was not super impressed with Jamie Foxx in this, but just in general, the way they brought them in, I thought was so well done. And then I also want to piggyback on what happens with Andrew Garfield's character, because I thought, like, I'm not gonna lie, man. Look, I'm not ashamed to admit it. I had to whip out the old handkerchief on that one because I was like,
same here.
I mean, the way that they gave him redemption, because they brought him in and he was still struggling with that, man. I mean, he even talked about how he just wasn't able to get past it. And then, so you see her fall and you see Holland can't get to her. Then he gets to her. And I'm like, I'm all right. But man, that was, I love that. That was awesome.
So really quickly, you're talking about how you were crying, right? This was so we can actually I can actually pull this up real quick. This was me. Let me do share screen. This was me in this is me in the movie theater when that scene happened. That was me. I was like crying. I was like it was a whole
So
like
real.
actual moment for me. So yeah, no, you weren't the only one. That was crying.
And let me just add one more thing since you showed that, Matthew, made me think about this. I thought that the balance here was really good with the comedic element and also the emotional parts of this. I thought were so well done, because I feel like you have to have a comedic element with Spider-Man because that is part of Parker's character and personality. But at the same time, the film balances it well with just some like real emotional weight and consequence. And I was floored by that. I thought that was just so well done from a writing standpoint, and even the visual storytelling with how they dealt with the comedic element of this, but also the emotional impact was just it was absolutely fantastic.
And sorry, 1 second. Okay, awesome. Yeah, man, I agree. I mean, I think especially when we're talking about Andrew. Okay, so the comedic elements, that's one of the things that makes Andrew Spider-Man stand out to me the most. I think honestly, he has the best comedy in the Spidey suit than all three of them. Yeah. To be honest, even though I'm not a huge fan. Yeah, his one-liners are great. Even though I'm not a huge fan of those two movies at all, really. Like they're The Amazing Spider-Man, it's on my list somewhere. I think number 6 or something like that in another ranking, or 5 or something, somewhere around there. It's not that low, but it's not super high. But one scene that always just comes back to my mind, and I talked about it last night, was when he was trying to find the guy that shot Uncle Ben, and he was in the car. And the guy was in the back, and he was like, no. Where you going? Come back here. Nope, come back here. And he's like just through the web. He's like, where you going? That scene, it was just, to me, is just something like such a really cool moment, because you're just like, this dude is just so awesome. Like, he's so powerful, and he's mad, but he's messing around with this dude at the same time. But he's also really mad, and you can see that he's mad. And like, I just love. And he's like, man, I'm just doing. He's a little cocky, but he's like, man, I just did half your job. And like, I think he.
I was going to say, I think it's cool how they differentiated with him too, like him being the Amazing Spider-Man. Because when you look at Spidey in the comics, you have all these different runs, the Spectacular Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man. So how they did these little things to kind of differentiate those characters within the comic book run, I thought that was really cool in this movie as well.
Speaking of differentiate, did you catch this little moment where Andrew Garfield's like, I'm the boring one. I've never been to space. I never fought an alien.
Yep.
But Toby goes, let's wind that back. Let's get that positive talk going. He goes, you're amazing.
I noticed that immediately.
And it has to be that word amazing to the Amazing Spider-Man.
He was being a good youth pastor.
He was a good youth pastor.
He was saying, especially those down south, I'm telling you, them down south ones, he'd be like, look, God will tell you, you are amazing. Amazing.
And if he cool, they would have some sort of Spider-Man superhero thing underneath their clothes, just like Tobey Maguire did. So he was a great youth pastor.
Hey, look, youth pastor in the day, good father for Halloween in the night. Okay, got the Spider-Man costume, and he's ready to go to Halloween, do trick or treat with his kids. At the end of the day,
and then swing away.
You know what?
And then swing away.
I actually like how they did Maguire's character too, because they didn't try and make him the same Spider-Man from Raimi 1. He was an older Spider-Man. He kind of represented. I love how they did that. That was really well done.
Well, it was great because you could see what he's worked through. You could tell that he's worked through a lot of the stuff that Tom Holland's going through, that Andrew's still dealing with. He's been there. He's done that. He is working through that darkness and has the most maturity. And I love the quick line that they dropped, that he and MJ have figured out how to make things work. I can't tell if they were married or not, but just the drop of that line that they made things work. I'm like, oh, good. Because we've been not in that trilogy in a good place with you two.
Yeah, no, it ended at a bad spot. I would say, just to add to everything that we're saying about this right now, too, this is going to be my third time saying this, and I love this example or comparison, but I viewed Toby in that movie as the Mike Tyson of the group. Okay,
seriously,
he's been there. He did everything. He did all that stuff. He got slapped around, and then like now he's like, if you look at Mike Tyson talk now, you he got some very questionable statements, but there's a lot of wisdom within what he's saying. Right? He has a lot of wisdom and a lot of like age, and you can just see it on, or any veteran in any sport or any field of work. You sit down and you talk with him. Like, if you're going to get a new job, who are you going to talk to? The young guy or the person that's been there for 30 years? Yep. The guy that knows how to like get an extra 15-minute break without really breaking the rules. So, you're going to talk to that guy. So, I mean, I just viewed him as the dude that was, as you've all been saying, he had experience. He's more wiser now. He's a little, he's more calm in his approach. He's not as, and we can get more into that with this next question.
And I agree with Mercenary X84. Glad Toby didn't dance in this film.
I'm mad he didn't dance in this film.
I was gonna say actually the opposite. No Bully Maguire.
No.
What a shame.
I've grown to love the Bully Maguire meme, and I embrace it because I'm probably the only one here out of the five of us that actually like that like Spider-Man 3. That likes
Spider-Man. I actually kind of enjoyed Spider-Man 3.
I'm the only one here who really liked both Amazing Spider-Man movies. I mean, I like the first one better than the second, but I like both those movies.
I didn't hate Spider-Man 3. My issue with Spider-Man 3 was probably what you've heard a lot of people say, that there was just a lot going on, and it was the writing wasn't strong enough to have all of those elements in it without it seeming like there's too much going on, if that makes any sense.
It makes a ton of sense. But for me, it always just goes back to, and I can't look, whenever anyone brings up any like real criticism about Spider-Man 3, I'm like, I can't even argue with you because it's true. But for me, it's just always the nostalgia, man. I was a kid when this movie came out, and I loved every minute of it. It was so cool just seeing like, Harry with that glider. I was so addicted to that glider. Yes, like I wanted it as a kid. Like my old Facebook profile from like 2008 has a picture of Harry on that glider. And like, that's how much I was addicted to that movie and to everything like that. So yeah, man. So I mean, I get it, but for me, it's like, look, we talked about it before, Durbin, with Green Lantern. Like, I like Green Lantern as a movie. I mean, I know it's bad, but I love it. So
yeah. Well, you know what I like about Spider-Man?
Can you guys see me doing that?
I can. Yeah.
You see that?
You can.
See what I'm trying to hit Matthew? Am I hitting?
Oh,
no, you're not. You're not hitting me. I'm up here. Real quick, we got a super chat from Life of Nate. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat, my friend. What do y'all think about Andrew possibly getting more movies? I'm personally glad. He is a great Spider-Man in my opinion. He's worked with Scorsese, Fincher. I actually do want to talk about this. This is on a list of my questions. Mm-hmm. So if I do not bring this up, Nate, and you find it's going on too long, remind me. I will get to that towards the end because that in itself is a really long conversation. So yeah. But thanks again for the super chat, man. Remind me if I don't bring it up. But yeah, so all right, I think we should move on to the next question here. So what is we've been talking about favorite moments, so I figured this is a good way to segue into this. What is your favorite moment from the film? A scene that you really enjoyed and a scene that you didn't like? So we got a sort of a three-parted question here. Taking it in any order, it doesn't really matter. So while you guys thinking, I'll go first.
Gosh, yeah.
Please.
I'll go first. So one of my favorite scenes in this movie, you guys talked about Andrew saving MJ, but for me, it was Toby saving Tom. That was my favorite part of the movie because of what that scene represented to me. I mentioned this last night in the other stream, but it ties back to another scene that I really enjoyed with them understanding Tom's Peter, his struggle with Aunt May and what he went through, and them listening to him vent his feelings out. Like, you guys don't understand me. And you can see Andrew doesn't even say, no, we do. Like, no, he just stayed quiet. And he looked at him and was like, Andrew does that little head nod thing he does. Like, he just nodded at him and he was like, I understand. Right. I completely understand. And Toby just looked at him like, oh, this poor boy. Well, why do we all? And to me, for some reason, the question that came to the thing that came in my head in that scene when I looked at Toby's face was like, and I was imagining him saying, why does this happen? Why does this happen to all of us? Does this happen to all of us? Right. Like, are we all doomed to go through this? But it was also a moment of clarity that, like, no, we are all sort of doomed to go through this, and it's about how we deal with this, and it's about what makes us. This is what makes us stronger as heroes. This is our thing that we have to deal with. So them sort of mentoring Tom and letting him know certain things towards the end, where he was beating the mess out of Goblin on that on the broken shield, which is a really dope shot.
That was a great scene.
When he was about to kill him and land the killing blow, he steps in and intercepts and says, "You are not about to make a decision that will. You're about to make a decision that will change your life forever, and you will not be okay." Like this Aunt May stuff. Like, yes, it sucks. You'll find a way to deal with it. Everything sucks right now, but if you kill this man, you're not going to sleep well.
Right.
Period. Like, you're going to go through stuff. And he's like, I'm not going to let you make this. I'm not going to let you do that. So
such a good one.
It was such a powerful scene to me. Just it's like I imagine like a brother or like, older brother or like an uncle figure or something like that stepping in to protect, youth pastor. There you go, youth pastor. Yeah. No, seriously though, like, I mean, we joke, but like for real though, there's a lot of youth pastors that would go that far for their kids, you know what I'm saying? So I mean, it's a good thing. He really was the youth pastor. But so that scene to me was one of the things. And to answer the third part of it, in terms of dislikes, I did have a little dislike, and it was more towards the end of the movie with how they handled the memory thing and how they handled the magic with all of that. We talked more about that last night. But that was more one of my negatives, but we can get more deeper into that. So yeah, on to you guys. And real quick, I think this is the Daniel Green in the chat. Mr. Daniel Green, welcome to the chat, man. I appreciate you. He's a super like big Wheel of Time expert on YouTube.
Man,
and most of Wheel of Time people know him and big into fantasy books and all that stuff. So definitely check out Daniel Green if you don't know him. But Daniel, thanks for stopping by, man. We'll answer your question real quick, and then we'll get to everybody. Okay, which villain would be the best to open a small business with? Who would actually contribute? What
Doc?
What y'all think real quick?
That dude is
Doc.
Yeah, Doc
100%.
It'd be him.
Yeah, nobody else is mentally stable enough to trust. So
No, yeah.
But also, many hands make light work.
Oh,
That is,
He's got
Hey,
to help out. Like, come on.
True.
he's efficient. That's for sure.
hey,
Matthew, I want to piggyback off what you said because you left off with actually my favorite part was the end scene, was how he sacrificed, right? He sacrificed the relationships, all the relationships that he had to set things right. But even at the end, when he goes and he starts to think about rekindling things with MJ, he decides not to. He decides that it's best not to let her know what things were and to just kind of let things go and live on being Spider-Man. And I love that because I thought that out of everything we've seen with Tom Holland so far, even the roles that he played in the Avengers movie, like this was most consequential for him. Like he gave up everything for everyone else. It was the ultimate in sacrifice. And I love to see that because I felt like we've not seen him deal with something that weighty in the previous movie. So I really, that scene again, man, that was another one where I had to whip out the old handkerchief and got the quivery lip going because I was like, oh man, I'm thinking like if that was Malika, I'd be like, man, I don't know if I could do it. I can't walk away. But so that scene really got me. But I would tell you what I didn't like as much is I did not like some of the writing for Jamie Foxx. Like some of the writing, some of the dialogue, I thought, oh man, like it just wasn't. And that's what I didn't like the most. It's not to say that I didn't like his performance, but I didn't like some of the writing that they gave his character.
it felt like Jamie Foxx with sprinkles.
Yeah.
So if that makes
It's
any sense.
sad because he's still an improvement from what he was in the other.
yeah,
But it's true. And it's true.
Like not even just aesthetically or physically, but they actually gave him like something more to do.
Yeah.
And even him having the arc reactor. But anyway, we'll get into all that.
Yeah.
For me, I would say one thing that I really did love because it was kind of like a chain reaction. You know, Aunt May was the one that kind of encouraged Peter to try to help these villains. And Doctor Strange was like, no, they need to go back. They're gonna die. Like we have to make this sacrifice so that things can be, you know, in line. And Peter's like, okay, cool. But no, they was like, nah, like we can try to fix them. We can try to do something. And she was like, no, you gotta take responsibility for this. And he was like, I don't owe them nothing, you know. And at the moment that, you know, Aunt May got hit by that glider, I don't know, man, the theater, we all were like, oh man. But then she was kind of walking around, she was kind of stumbling. I was like, okay, this is, you know, this is Disney. They're not gonna, you know, she didn't get like scared. Like it was kind of like, you know, she got hit. She might be hurt or something like that. But then, you know, she had a real emotional conversation with Peter. She was like, you know what? Like, no, this is what you have to do. This is the whole point behind you having these powers, is the responsibility behind them and the weight behind them. And then she passes away. And how she died was just, it was not only just a tearjerker, it was the thing that changed everything. Like it was the catalyst to, from that point, Tom Holland, for the very first time, he was like, I need to be alone because I don't know what to do. Like I'm mad, I'm hurt. And that's how he ended up by himself in the rain, just looking at the billboard and taking responsibility for everything. And then that was the setup that gave us both the other Peter Parkers laying into him and just trying to help him and encourage him, as well as Ned and MJ embracing him. Like that whole moment was the thing that changed this movie from being like, oh, okay, this is a cool, you know, Spider-Man story, to this feels like a real comic book story that has weight, that has emotional resonance. And I was like, I'm never going to forget something like that. A thing that I didn't like, though, honestly, as much as Doctor Strange was like, oh, Peter, I can't believe you messed up the spell. I can't believe, but this is a grown man, right? Telling this kid, oh, okay, I'll take care of it. And not asking the questions ahead of time. Okay, did you talk to the dean of admissions, or did you go and do this, or you know what? Let's talk to Pepper Potts. We can get you into MIT.
He wasn't a good youth pastor. That's the problem.
It makes no sense.
He was not a youth pastor.
Why Doctor Strange went and initiated that, even after Wong was like, "Nah, shoot, you do this, you on your own." You know, like it just made no real sense. It was almost like it was just there for plot. And I feel the same way about Lizard. Like, was Lizard really even needed? Outside of him just being like, he didn't do anything. You know what I'm saying? As much as I like the fact that Jamie was like, okay, arc reactor, sustainability. And on top of that, now, like, all the villains have technically been kind of cured, but they're not completely cured. They can be utilized in another universe in a different way, which I guess we'll talk about that multiverse side of stuff later. But with the Lizard, I was kind of like, Sandman, I was like, Thomas Hayden Church, like, you're way better than this, bro. Like, I don't know. Like, I those two elements, and on top of the Doctor Strange thing, it just didn't make sense. And one other thing that I didn't like, but I got to be really careful about how I say it, is, and I know Matt's going to go into it, is the reality of what this did. Because Doctor Strange said this is not time travel, right? And then, you know, because he said that everybody is going to forget that, you know, Spider-Man, and then it kind of changed to all these other kinds of, like, all these other people remember that he's Spider-Man. And so they were pulled from a multiverse situation. Now it's like, okay, so if he's been erased from existence, say if somebody has a video of Peter Parker, right, that they're just friends with him, that they just see a random, like, I don't know who that dude is. Like, this is not enough explainer to make you understand. It kind of contradicts certain things, but it could lead into something more. So I don't want to make it a negative yet. I feel like it's a good talking point. But I apologize for going too long.
No, you're good. It's all good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, actually piggybacking off of that, starting with my least favorite, that was something I thought about like immediately at the end of the movie. Like, doesn't MJ have drawings of Peter like above her bed in one of the scenes? Like, there's going to be
pictures, right?
You got a lot of pictures, yeah.
There's going to be a lot of points in time where Mary Jane is going to be like looking in her room and being like, "Who the heck is this?
Who's this guy?"
And like all the like, they had a newspaper with like Peter Parker is Spider-Man and all these things on it, and you're like, what the heck? Like, I don't know who this person is, but he kind of looks like the guy in my drawings. Like, And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I'm not super caught up with comic books or anything like that, but I think this is pretty much exactly what happens in the comic book story as well, right? Like the spell only lasts for like
No more
a week or something like that.
One more day, I think.
One more day. Yep. So that kind of bothered me, but truly and honestly, one of the things that bothered me coming right out of the first trailer that they dropped, I believe, one of the last scenes in the first trailer was the scene of Doctor Strange trying to like repair the universe. And he said, they're coming through and I can't stop them. I thought initially that those were two voice lines spliced together. So to hear that played out at the end of the movie and then for nothing really to come out of it, like I was really, really hoping to get some sort of crazy Loki appearance or something like that. So maybe my expectations were too high. Just like the way the Loki things were. Though. Yeah, you're talking about the white figures as they were coming through. Yeah,
well, I think one of them was Craven. Like I kind of recognized that. I recognized the shape of the rhino, but that was
Rhino too. Yeah.
Same. That's the only one I actually recognized. Yeah.
And I always feel like that was a cheap device to say, yeah, see, we got all 6 in. Here's the
seriously. Here's Sinister Six. Have fun. Yeah, man. So that was a little disappointing. I'm a massive Doctor Strange fan, so there were a lot of points in this movie where I was like, dude, I know Doctor Strange would do something different, but I'll just suspend my disbelief a little bit.
Right.
But Green Crush talked about some of the stuff we're talking about, like how does that spell work with video evidence? It was an interesting video I watched.
Yeah, seriously. So I was asking those questions throughout the entire time period. But in terms of my favorite, you guys gave some pretty dramatic scenes. Mine was kind of quite the opposite, actually. When they came up with the Peter Parker number system, I kind of lost my mind. I was really waiting to see who was going to get number 1. And I was so satisfied with them giving Tom Holland number 1. Like, as a Tobey Maguire fanboy, I kind of think Tom Holland might be number 1. And they also came to his universe too. So I kind of like put that in my head as they're giving him like, okay, well, you're Peter Parker number 1. And then obviously Andrew's number 3. So that puts Tobey at number 2.
Tobey being the good youth pastor he is would not fight that.
Exactly.
He let him have it.
I am number 2.
I mean, you're amazingly number 3.
I was gonna say, I also think the numbering was good the way that they did it, because it would have been like really on the nose if they were like, okay, Raimi is number 1, and then Garfield number 2, Holland number 3. It was just too simple.
So basically, I don't know if anybody's theorized this, but I just thought of it. Maybe someone said it. Maybe I'm just late to the party. But what if them saying? I mean, maybe we talked about this. What if them saying Andrew's number 3 is a good way of them hinting that he might have a movie on the way?
I literally just typed that.
You just typed it? There you go.
Oh, dude, that would be amazing. I hope that's the case.
I never thought about that.
What if they're saying
a nice little Easter egg?
Number 3, we got you. We got you for number 3.
And they somehow are able to tie it into being like a spiritual successor to No Way Home as well. Mm-hmm. Like they let those first 2 movies, and then this is a bump in the road for Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man right into his 3rd movie. I would be so excited, especially as a non-Andrew Garfield Spider-Man fan. That would get me in the theaters for sure.
Oh, I'd be
Oh, I'm sorry. It just hit me. When Bad Boy said that, I was thinking, so we got that little hint by Jamie Foxx. Does that mean we might see like now a live action Miles Morales film?
Absolutely, man.
Absolutely. First of all, I don't know. We can't forget this. We got the hint from since back in Homecoming.
Yep.
Right when we saw Childish Gambino as the Prowler.
Yeah.
So because I'm seeing a lot of these TikToks where so like my wife shows it to me because she's on TikTok more than I am, but like she would just show me, and she'd be like, people would be like, did you guys know that in Homecoming they actually revealed it? I'm like,
yes.
Yes. Yes, I did know.
4 years ago at this point.
But I do understand that there's a lot of people that are not really they don't focus on certain details like that. They may not know who Miles is. They don't even know who the Prowler is. So like, I get it. Not everybody's nerds like us. You know what I'm saying? Right. Not everyone's really into that.
Shame.
Details. Franklin, we don't judge, Franklin. I'm messing too.
But that's That's a great point, and I know this is a No Way Home show, but I was thinking the same exact thing during that movie with the new Across the Spider-Verse trailer.
Yep.
Because they mentioned like all this, like they showed this new art style and the possibility with like 2099, and then they mentioned Miles again also in this movie. Like, is there potential that this might be a segue into Across the Spider-Verse to get some live action Miles Morales at the end of the movie? I don't know.
That would be awesome.
Just saying.
I mean, look.
Just saying.
So the thing I wanted to have a conversation with is that, do you guys believe that when all of them all disappeared, that they just went back to their respective universes and died, or they were alive and things were consequently changed on a multiverse level?
Because for me, thoughts on that.
I think that there's some other things that are happening here. Like, you're not gonna, have a Craven movie already pre-set up. You're not gonna have like the Morbius trailer show Spider-Man up there shown as a murderer, but then Tom Holland's not up there, ironically, as the person revealed. Like, there are things going on that I feel like they are setting in motion. They're just trying to keep hush hush. But I really wanted to have a talking point about it because I didn't have that on mine, because we went
that makes me think, because Andrew Garfield talked about pulling his punches. What if Morbius is in the Andrew Garfield world? That's why it says murderer on that poster, because he's been pulling or not pulling.
Oh, wow.
And so it kind of opens that door for like, whoa.
That's crazy, man. I didn't think about that.
Dude, I did not even think about that one either. Oh,
yeah, that would be so cool.
That would be
elaborate,
awesome.
Sir. Come on, keep it going.
Keep it going.
Yeah, keep it going. What are
I mean, there's a lot of interesting things about that. So, like, I don't know, what if Morbius is in the Amazing Spider-Man verse, which means the Michael Keaton that is in there is a different Vulture. We saw Vulture wings at the end of the Amazing Spider-Man 2, but we never actually saw those Vulture wings go on anybody. So what if Michael Keaton's Vulture is in that universe, and maybe that's why he's being arrested, and that's why he's telling the doctor we need to talk sometime. So, like, there's all these little things they could do. And then I was kind of wondering, what if when Goblin dies and he's impaled, what if that's the moment that he just got back to his universe, and he's back to his sane mind? So he looks at Peter and says, "Don't tell Harry." Maybe that's even more so why he said that, because now he's cured.
That's
what if the
crazy.
reason Doc Ock was willing to sacrifice his life and die with his reactor is because of the kindness and sacrifice of Peter in this universe, and he came right back and he goes,
"No,
now the character arc is complete, and this is why he's so willing to give his life." And so I was thinking about all of that, and I'm like, this makes you want to go back and rewatch everything, because now you have a whole different lens.
Man, now see, Durbin, you've just taken me on a head trip that I like. I don't even know where to go next. Like, there's so many.
The song was the song "The One to Take Me on a Roller Coaster." that's what's playing in my head right now. So,
wait.
That blows my mind. I never thought about that, honestly.
Now, there might be horror in what I said, but it's just one of those things that makes you think. It goes, well, maybe, like, who knows?
Yeah, there's so many different possibilities, because I was kind of like, it would be interesting if Venom, the Tom Hardy Venom, was actually a part of Andrew Garfield's universe. I felt like that would be the interesting trade-off, because we don't know how big of a scope Andrew has been, up until the point that, Gwen died, and what he was doing behind the corners. And I felt like, honestly, if he went down this point of dissension where he was battling like his inner thoughts and emotions, and then he came back from Holland's universe with that realization of trying to change, all to deal with now a symbiote situation, what would that do? I don't know. There's so many different possibilities, dude. I love your thought on that.
Agreed.
Man, if they're smart enough, they would definitely use that to their advantage, because I did not even think of that, Durbin. Like, you got me thinking, because now I want to go back and rewatch that. It's like he literally does a thing where he's like, as soon as it's coming, don't tell Peter. Like, he literally does that.
Yeah.
He literally does that little shock thing, like, don't tell. Don't tell Peter. Don't tell Harry.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, so you
How
might
do I-
be right, because at what point did Doc Ock come back? Was it the point that he had grabbed?
He said
Um,
he disappeared. He had Peter by the throat. And when I went back and I watched Spider-Man 2 to do my video, I didn't watch the whole movie, but I watched that scene. He gets Peter by the throat, and it's right before he turns good. Peter says a few things in that scene, and that's when Doc Ock gets control of the arms, and he goes, "You listen to me now," and that's when it lets go. And I'm wondering, what does it look like from that Peter's perspective? And it probably didn't even look like Doc Ock disappeared, right? It could have looked like nothing happened.
Yeah.
But from Doc Ock's perspective, he disappeared. He went into another universe, had a complete character arc, and then comes back and is listening to this Peter say these things to him. And it's like, oh, I got control again.
Yeah, you're gonna need to save this section of this, Matt, and post it
Big
somewhere
time.
or everywhere. I'm just letting you know, because that might break the internet if that gets out. Wow, we can just shut the whole discussion down right now.
Turn it off, boys. We did it.
Because Matt is gone.
Yeah, exactly.
Matt is gone.
Man, I mean, you know what, Durbin? That's food for thought. But I will tell you, when you think back of a lot of the other MCU movies that they've tucked a lot of just small, nuanced things that we've seen come to light later on in other Marvel films. So, man, look. I mean, you've definitely shaken the dome, but I would not put some of that stuff out of reach.
Seriously.
But the thing is, if that is correct, if that is accurate, right? That's telling me that we have some OP writers that know how to take a scene that had nothing to do with anything in the future, because there's no MCU when Toby came out. Like, there's none of that.
Yeah.
So I mean, you have some really top-notch dudes that are like, you know, hey, look, we can write something in No Way Home that makes sense for this story, but not only for this one, but will make sense for all the other movies we did, and actually make it connect in a way that if people go back and watch those movies, they can now correlate the things together.
It's almost time travel, man. Like those writers were literally able to transcend time.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, because even with Sandman, because Sandman didn't die, but Sandman had a moment where he chose to help. Like, he had a moment where he's like, you know what? No, like, I'm gonna change my perspective on this. So,
well, that's why Sandman was so boring in this one. He didn't have much of a character arc because he already had it in Spider-Man 3. So by the time he's pulled in, he's already been through it, and Peter already forgave him. So he didn't have much more to grow. He just wanted to get back home to his daughter. And that's why, like, his part wasn't as spectacular. And I don't think it's because of Hayden Church's acting or anything. It's because his character arc already happened. He and Peter already had the cathartic moment. He's not a villain anymore. He just wants to get home.
Now, that being said, by the way, was anybody else terrified when they saw Tobey Maguire being pulled under the Statue of Liberty's torch by Sandman? I thought he was potentially going to drown or something like that. Like, his hand was the only thing that was under. I was like, there's no way they're going to kill my boy Toby off like this, right? And so he throws He throws in the thing and snaps.
That they could kill one of the Spider-Men. Like, I had that, like, I was like, in the event that they do show up, I was like, man, like, the whole thing about Spider-Men in general is sacrifice and understanding a responsibility, you know, to preserve life. And it's kind of like, ultimately, I mean, they could have made a real serious choice. Like, when Toby's Peter decided to block the glider to try to save Tom Holland's soul, he knowingly did that thinking that he could have died because he's not, I mean, he's got spider sense. Like, he knows this man's right behind him. You know, it's not like he didn't understand. So I think that he put his life on the line, like that time and the time where the sand, like, I think that he just didn't care. But I worried that Toby or Andrew could have died. I'm glad that they didn't. But I mean, if Toby would have died with the glider moment, how would you guys have felt, though, emotionally? And
I'm glad he didn't die. I'm glad they cheaped out there. If there's any place you could cheap out, I'm glad it was there. I mean,
I agree.
I don't know. I was kind of like disappointed that it wasn't a major injury, and they just with a joke. Oh, I've been stabbed before. I'm in a lot of pain, but I'm glad they didn't kill him because with the death of Aunt May and, you know, Andrew's cathartic moment, like, you know, I've been through such an emotional roller coaster that if Tobey Maguire died, somebody would have had to carry me out of the theater.
I couldn't agree more.
I'm glad he didn't too, because I felt like I wasn't sure that none of them were going to die, but I'm glad they didn't, because I felt like that would have been too much. Like it would have just, it just would have been more than we can handle. And I mean, just as a Spidey fan, like I really feel like, okay, so see, now that's just disrespectful. I mean, I know people want surprises here, but you can't take out Raimi's Spidey. Like you can't take out. I mean, this is the guy that started it all, basically. At least within the modern Spider-Man films, you can't do that.
So the thing that scared me was not so much that scene. The scene that actually had me like, I guess I had to catch my breath because I was like, everyone was quiet. Was when when Tom's Spidey sense was going off, really super intense anime style, focused on that, like when he was going down the stairs, and the spider sense just was increasingly just getting more and more like it was, and like visually too, like cinematography wise, it was so unsettling from an image point of view, and also from an auditory point of view as well. It was just a very unsettling scene to me, where I was just like just shook at the entire sequence. To me was just, I
was gonna name that as my favorite scene, because I loved in Far From Home when he was just learning to handle the Peter Tingle. And for me, doing theological analyses on my YouTube channel, like a youth pastor, one of the things that I like is that image of he had to walk by faith and not by sight. With all of the lies that Mysterio was throwing out there, he had to close his eyes and listen to his Spidey sense, and that was the only way that he could win. And I loved the development of his Spidey sense, and you see it, that intense, unsettling scene, and the only way he figures it out is when he closes his eyes, and with his eyes closed, he shot a web, and it was at Norman. And I was like, oh.
All I gotta say is Willem Dafoe, because right now, I don't know if y'all saw the trailer for The Northman, but that's another movie coming out, Viking movie with Willem Dafoe that's coming out, I think February. I think Alexander Skarsgård and Anya Taylor-Joy is in that movie. Yeah, man. Willem Dafoe is something. Like I think. How long have you guys seen Lighthouse?
I have. I love that movie.
Oh my man, y'all gotta see Lighthouse, he's man. I saw that in the theater, man. Lighthouse was that was, I think
I want to see Lighthouse. I haven't gotten around to it though.
I think it's on Prime.
Nice.
Yeah, Pattinson and Dafoe. It's one of those movies that you have to rewatch quite a couple times. It's a little hard to sit through, at least to me, the first time, because there was just a lot going on and a lot of old American language that I just did not understand. But because, like you had, especially from like an area like similar to like Maine or something like that, had like fishermen, lighthouse dudes. But anyway, not the point. The point I'm trying to make is Willem Dafoe is just one of the best we've ever seen in our time right now. Like the time that we're in right now for cinemas, he's one of the best. Do you guys know, Sam? I know you might know this. You guys know if he ever got an Academy Award for any of his performances?
I don't think he has.
I don't think he has, but just to be sure, because if not, then he needs one ASAP.
He better get one for his Green Goblin in this movie, honestly, if he doesn't.
So he's been nominated 4 times, but he's not won yet.
Man, that is actually a shame. That is actually a shame. Did he get a nomination for Lighthouse at all?
Nope. That Lighthouse got shut out the year that it came out. Nobody got nominated, even though Pattinson Elu could have got nominated.
Yeah.
I think the director should have got nominated, but that's neither here nor there.
That's a whole different conversation. But like,
right.
Oh my Lord. But yeah, no, Dafoe, and we were talking about him, him Dudley bombing people in last night's stream with Dudley bombing Tom Holland through the ceiling. Just going from floor to floor, straight up like awesome. Wrestling moves in the middle of Happy Zone, like freaking like Randy Orton in the mess out of this guy. Like it was.
He put a hurting on Tom, man. Like he was not big. He was not holding back. Like he was like. maniacal. He was more menacing to me in certain aspects of how he was in the first one, because the first one he was kind of like we were trying to get his footing, like we know the trope, and then the back half, like we had the Aunt May moment where he's like finish it, But in this one, he was a beast, man. Like that fight in the apartment, it's gonna go down in history as a pretty epic comic book fight, because when he started getting punched in the face and he just sitting there laughing and smiling, and
that messed me up.
Like I was like, that's horror fuel.
That's what nightmare.
Kids.
It's horror nightmare fuel.
I don't know how kids are gonna like look at that scene and be able to like,
look. I as a kid, because Spider-Man, Tom Raimi. Oh my God, Sam Raimi. Jeez, Sam Raimi, Spider-Man. That as a kid, when I first saw that movie, like I would say, the first comic book movie I've ever seen, which is why I love it so much. This is why it's like my favorite, or right now my third favorite Spider-Man movie of all time. Right? It's Willem Dafoe scared me as a child. Like watching him as Green Goblin and the laughing, and when he broke into Aunt May, when he like busted up her whole house, she was trying to say prayers, bro. Like she was trying to pray, trying to go to sleep. Like she trying to sleep. She in her jammies. She just took a hot shower. She's trying to say her prayer, go to sleep. And then this dude this fool comes in and busts down her whole house. She got to call Geico now. She got to call everybody to deal with this situation. And then now, and then I was scared. I was honestly scared going to sleep with I actually had nightmares, but I ended up just really loving it, because as I got older, I started to recognize the performance and how good of a performance it was, and the fact that it did scare me is what made me appreciate that, how good it was. Because there's some villains, you just look at them and you're like, can't take you seriously. Like right. Riot in Venom, I could not take you as much as I love Riz Ahmed. I just could not take him seriously as Riot in Venom. He just, to me, I was just laughing the entire time. But no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think one of the things that he did so well is he did such a great job of showing the instability of the character and kind of moving back and forth between the Goblin and Osborn. And all of it, man, just like his facial inflections, everything was so well nuanced that you just never know when he was going to turn, right? You never know when he was going to kind of flip and change. And it was just fantastic. He was amazing. And I agree with you, Sam. Like even more so than the first time we saw him in Spider-Man, he was fantastic. He was great.
Because I also thought that I was afraid they were going to just try to have him like do a carbon copy of his performance, but I feel like he made it better, like you were saying, like you guys were saying, like he just made it better and it stepped up. And I'll let you guys talk, but as a lover of memes, I really appreciated I'm somewhat of a scientist myself. I appreciated that so much as a meme lover, as a lover of memes. That was a very beautiful moment for me, and I'm glad they did that, and I'll forever be happy for them for including that line. But yeah, so okay, so I had a bunch of questions, man, but I think we're gonna get straight down to the nitty gritty of everything. So, is there anything specific, like a really big thing that you guys want to bring up right now? Now is the time.
So I want go ahead, Bag. Go ahead.
This will be a quick one, actually. It's ricocheting off of Iden B. Jacobs' comment about what about Hobgoblin? Now, I thought about this immediately towards the middle of the movie when Andrew's talking about, oh, yeah, our Toby said, oh, I had a best friend, blah, 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 blah. And Ned's like, oh, crap, I got to treat Spider-Man with respect, right? And then his mind gets wiped at the end of the movie. So that kind of leads into a possibility of, Ned probably wasn't going to become Hobgoblin, right? I mean, they're obviously so tight. But now that his memory's wiped, and he's got those Sorcerer Supreme powers, I think it's potentially actually on the table now. And that's something I think I'm going to be paying attention to.
And what was that thing where the camera was in his house and panned across that thing of all the knives that were hanging up on his wall? Like, there was a reason we saw that, and we never went back.
Seriously.
That was a
So-
weird shot. Now that you bring that up, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I thought they were doing. I thought it was going to be Ned becoming the Hobgoblin or something, but they didn't bring it around to that. So it's like, okay, that must be a shot we call back to in a future movie.
You know what's interesting, and this could be totally aside, but if he does end up playing Hobgoblin, I think it's interesting because if you've seen him now, you've seen the pictures of him now, and
He's
all
really
the
thin.
weight that he's lost.
Yeah, he lost a lot of weight.
So like even I'm wondering if he could even be prepping for something like that.
Oh, he's been putting in work. I'm so
Big
proud
time.
of him. I'm so proud of him. No, he's been putting in a lot of work in there. That's a really good theory.
Yeah, seriously. They flipped the coin. You're like, he's not going to become Hobgoblin. Oh, wait, this guy's going to be Hobgoblin. Like, all within a 2-hour time span. It was genius.
It's an evil sorcerer. Imagine him just using portals to and to beat the mess out of that'd be crazy. Speaking of portals, we talked about it last night in the stream, Sam, but like everything with the Spidey sense.
Yes.
With him getting astral protected.
That was so awesome.
And then the Spidey sense is just like moving, defending himself from. What? Spidey sense is OP. Spidey sense is OP.
Yeah, but it was awesome to see Spidey sense against Doctor Strange magic. Like, I don't think I've ever seen Spider-Man and his powers tested the way they were tested, going up against somebody who is a freaking wizard. And using mathematics, figuring out the shapes and how to spin his web to capture Doctor Strange.
That was genius.
Using pi.
Oh my gosh. Using pi. To me, I'm like, yeah, numbers, that doesn't make any sense to me. But whatever, you caught Doctor Strange. But it was just awesome to see the genius of Parker against the magic of Doctor Strange. I loved it.
Math is really just magic.
Did they explain that? Maybe I missed it in Durbin. I'm still a little glitchy on my audio here, but did they explain how Parker was able to do that when Strange said, "How is he doing this?" Did they explain that? Did I miss that?
I assume it's the Spidey sense. His body was reacting to the Spidey sense, and you could see his spirit in the astral projection had the senses. So I'm assuming the Spidey sense was giving the body the reaction of moving the box.
Oh,
that's what I got from it too.
I think it was just like a subconscious thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like even though your soul and your spirit is out, your brain is still kind of working.
Actually,
it's the body of a spider.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Right.
When you think about how they set that up in Raimi's movie in the first Spider-Man, they talk about his Spidey sense almost being precognate.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting. Oh, and that reminds me too. And Bad Boy, I'm sure you want to jump in on this because one of the most exciting things that I've seen as a Strange fan was that last end credits scene. I almost ran up and down the aisles.
I was trying to, so I went into it pretty blind, and obviously we saw the after credit scene. I'm not going to allude to it too much, but then I was in the middle of the theater, and everybody stayed there, and I was like, well, we saw our after credit scene. Like, what are we here to watch for? So I'm so glad I waited the extra 5 minutes or so just sitting there through the credits, and then boom, a trailer for Doctor Strange: Madness into the Multiverse. Whew. Yeah, man, I'm so excited.
As a reactor,
Sorcerer
I was
Strange
upset about that, to be honest. I'm like, man, because me and my wife were sitting down reacting to this thing and no cameras. And we're like, no, we need to talk about this right now. We can't say anything.
When I saw Wanda and that tie into WandaVision, I was like, all right, let's go.
So did any of you guys watch What If then?
I loved What If. Episode 4 was amazing, dude.
So the fact of that version of Doctor Strange being actually, I mean, Kevin Feige said it was canon, but seeing it and understanding how OP that version of Doctor Strange is,
so broken.
Bro, anything could happen. He could be the villain, but then it could be even deeper than that. We really have no idea where this is leading to, but I'm all for it. Like,
yes,
I mean, didn't they say all of What If was canon anyway?
They did.
That was going to be my question. Do we know if that's going to be the same Sorcerer Strange from What If? That was confirmed.
I think that's what alluded, because Kevin was like, it's all canon. And so this is the first character that we've seen coming from an animated anything being on a live action scale. I think it's the same one.
Yes, we have to ask the question how he got out of the little bubble and stuff like that. That was the only thing keeping me from thinking that was the same version.
Well, we saw him get out of the bubble at the end.
You know what, though?
That's true. That's true.
And he also, when things broke loose, when Strange at the end was trying to hold stuff together, he could have gotten out then, too. that could have been.
Oh, that's a good point. Because that's a universe, right? So that could have opened a portal in that universe for him to get out. Wow, that's a great point. Awesome. I'm so excited.
So there's so we need to talk about some of the big things, the big changes. We're actually gonna. I'm leaving Bully McGuire's comment.
Please do.
I missed the part where that's my problem.
But no, we need to talk about the big thing. There's a lot of big things, but because we're actually gonna wrap up. I know Sam has to head up. We're gonna get ready to wrap up because I have to get up to do Hawkeye early in the morning. Sorry, this Bully McGuire. I gotta highlight. You're just quoting all the lines, but yeah, the changes that this movie has. We need to talk about the whole maybe Spider-Man not being in the MCU. Maybe he is still in the MCU thing. Where do you think we're gonna, Tom Holland Spider-Man is gonna go from here? What kind of theories do we have? That's gonna be, unless you guys, and then we can wrap up with whatever else you guys can think about. But I think we need to talk about that because we don't have any concrete answer as to what is going to happen. At the end of most of the end credit scenes, you can kind of sort of figure out where things are going to go, and we can sort of maybe figure out where things are going to go with this. But then it's like, is it going to be he's out? Like Sony's just going to be like, well, nice knowing you, kid. Love, peace, and hair grease. We out. And then they did. So what are you guys' thoughts on all of this?
I mean, well, at the end of the day, I mean, they gave us an OG Spider-Man costume. That Spider-Man still technically exists. It's just Peter Parker doesn't in any conceivable way. Now, the execution of that, it should have been that he literally doesn't exist and it only Spider-Man or both of them don't exist. So I didn't like that side of that. But I do think all of this is going to lead into other possibilities. Whether or not, Sony and Disney choose to make more films and continue this on down the line of like Spider-Man 4 and create a new trilogy. Maybe Peter finally going to college and, maybe going to local college, getting his GED, he wanting to work at the Daily Bugle. And that's how that starts to happen. There's so many different possibilities with that. But I do think absolutely that Tom Holland's Spider-Man is going to end up voice acting in the Spider-Verse because I think the Spider-Verse is going to be on a live action scale. I think that that's really, as much as they really wanted Insidious 6, I think that they want to build out what the reality of this Spider-Verse could be, not just on an animation form, but in a live action scale. Because imagine, y'all, if instead of anybody coming up, like Gwen Stacy came up as Spider-Gwen. Imagine what that would have done to Andrew Garfield's character to see her just randomly and I think that moments like that they know are so precious to us that we're anticipating. And I really do feel like that's where this is going to next. Whether or not Tom Holland is going to do more with MCU, I do think that when they left over that little piece of the symbiote, I think that whatever is going to happen with Spider-Man, that's going to lead into like Secret Wars. That they're going to allow some kind of way of having a block costume.
That'd be sweet.
I really feel like that's what that's going to be, and that's their way of allowing that to progress. But I think that they can have the best of both worlds. And at the end of the day, it's money talks. Like this movie made so much money because of a collaborative thing. And I'm not going to discredit, what Sony has done negative in the past, but what they did with Spider-Verse and what they're building through with that and how they're connecting their movies to a Spider-Verse situation, dude, the possibilities are endless. And I am anticipating that's where they're going to next, as well as MCU is building to the multiverse side of things, which are going to lead into, of course, the Fantastic Four and, of course, like Secret Wars and other possibilities that we cannot foresee. Because now we're cosmic, like Galactus level things. So I definitely think that that's it's going both ways. I don't think it's just going to be narrowed to just what Sony wants. I think that they're doing both because they could say, all right, well, Spider-Man exists. So now Miles Morales is the new Spider-Man for the MCU. That's the trade-off. We don't really know. We just know that effectively right now, Peter Parker doesn't exist in MCU and magic changes too. It could be that something changes the spell because somebody understands, like, wait, hold on, you're Peter Parker. I know who you are. Or say Wanda. Wanda is a fixed point. She can't change at all. And say she remembers Peter. I'm like, wait, hold on. What happened with Peter? What's going on with Peter? Why does nobody remember Peter? And she changes it. So anything can happen at any point.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that reality of the situation.
You know what, Sam? That's such a good point. Wanda would likely not be affected by that spell.
She's not. She's not at
Man,
all.
That's such
I
a good
didn't
point.
think about that. I did not think about that. You know what I think is interesting, and to me it'll be a bit of a litmus test, because to me what makes, even though Spidey, I've always loved Spidey as a kid since I've been a kid, but what makes Spider-Man special is being attached to the MCU. So I'd be interested to see how well he does if we know that we're likely not going to get other characters from the MCU to come into that movie, to come into those movies. That I'd be interested just to see how people accept that.
So I'm gonna ask y'all a real question because I gotta leave in a second. If there was no if there was no impression that the other Spider-Man were gonna be in this, if there was never any impression that the older Spider-Man villains would be here, do you guys honestly think this movie would have been as big financially and as big as it actually is if it was just like a sequel to, you know, the Homecoming saga? Do you guys think that the selling point was the fact of what Sony has built in the past, in the prospect of what Spider-Verse could implicate as a selling point for this?
That's a great question.
I kind of think Spider-Verse was the big selling point. I mean, just look at how well Into the Spider-Verse did. And then as soon as you get that trailer and you see Doc Ock from Spider-Man 2, everybody's hopes were up. I mean, even me. I was like, oh, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. I don't think it would have done as well. I mean, first of all, Raimi was my favorite Spider-Man. Spider-Man 1, honestly, Spider-Man Homecoming, I probably had in a minority here, but I thought it was boring. Honestly, I thought the pacing was slow and I found it boring. I did like Far From Home better. And this one, I think, was as good as what it was because it folded in the other Spider-Mans and the story build around it. I think had they not been in there, I think it probably would have been a fine enough film. I don't think it would have been as near as good as what it was. That's my opinion.
Some interesting comments in the chat.
Yeah, no, I'm seeing all. Franklin, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I really do think the biggest selling point for this was, are the Spider-Man all going to be together? I mean, the villains are there, just fill in the hole. So, yeah, and I forget who mentioned it, but piggybacking off of the Spider-Verse movie, like, I think Spider-Verse is still the best-selling Spider-Man movie thus far. So even that alone is enough to tie this in here, and like, who knows where that's going to be in a week or so.
I mean, I just bought it last night digitally.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cuz.
I can't say I blame you either. But
I mean,
yeah, no, absolutely. So I mean, for example, I would have seen the movie regardless, but a massive driving force for me taking a day off work just to see this movie, like, it was immediate. Absolutely. I need to see Tobey Maguire.
What did your work think now that you said this out loud on the internet for them all to hear?
Oh, work thing. Good question. Moving on.
For me, what really sold it for me, and it was Lizard getting like air jutsu'd, like getting freaking like Last Airbender air punched in the face in that one trailer, and I'm like, yeah, someone's kicking him. Someone is kicking. All you see is Lizard do this.
Yep.
Like, he's going. So I've been seeing a lot of comments of, like, some people saying, "Oh yeah, Lizard was just checking to see spiders." Wait, what did he just show? Oh, see, he had to go get the flex on us.
Oh man,
he had to go. Oh, let me. Show
I like the steel book. I only have the boring cardboard cover. That's awesome.
That black and red is so nice.
I have the I have the boring digital code that you will find in the Matrix. That's what I have. Okay. We are going to get ready to wrap this up very, very soon. It is approaching. It's practically 11 p.m. by me, and I have to go to sleep. Is there anything? As a matter of fact, I'm going to see if there's anything in the chat that we could have brought up to just discuss really quickly. If there's any specific thing that you guys wanted to talk about that you didn't get a chance to bring up earlier, I think now is the time.
I think I said all the stuff I wanted to say. It's an awesome movie, and I can't wait to own it so I can watch it 10 more times.
I couldn't agree more, honestly.
Yeah, Durbin said the thing. I need it in my hands right now. Can somebody give it to me? I need it digitally. I want it right now. I need to see it again because honestly, I'm a little scared to go back to the theaters a little bit. So I want to see it again immediately. But
yeah, I'm a little scared myself. Just it's been getting kind of crazy with this thing, man. It's been getting kind of crazy, a little crazy. I ain't gonna lie, it's a little crazy.
It's one way.
But luckily, I normally go matinee hours, so it's normally like 3 old people, and like where I live is like not really anyone going anywhere in the middle of the week at like 10 a.m. in the morning. It's normally just me and like Betty and like Jim. Like, yeah, like and Betty, poor Betty, is like in the front. Like this actually happened a couple of times. Actually, she would see the same old lady like that just comes, and she would have like her headphones, like her noise canceling headphones. It's so adorable. She's like her noise canceling headphones, so she doesn't get so it's not too loud for her.
Dude, that's so cute.
Yeah, right. And she like just takes her time, and like she's such a nice lady. But it's always her whenever I go early in the morning. She sits in the front. I just call her Betty. I have no idea what her name is. But yeah, no. And Al switch sets, man. Al, what's going on? You going through the multiverse, Al? I was going through the which variant are you, Al? What's going on?
Well, this is the variant that is mute.
The muted variant.
Oh,
yeah,
that
the
makes
mute
sense.
variant.
The mute variant. Oh, we've okay, so we kind of touched on Daredevil a little bit. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we can just kind of bring up. Clean slate for Peter. No more hiding in Stark Tech shadow. I
kind of like the Stark Tech stuff though. It was fun the way he interacted with it, but it is also cool now to see him not have that to lean on anymore.
He needed to do that. He needed to not have that anymore to become a man.
Right.
So I do have
an
a
adult.
question regarding that actually, because that's a fantastic point, and I wanted to bring this up in regard to Spider-Man in the MCU, right? So we aren't certain of who Peter Parker is, but in the Avengers new facility, they're going to know who Spider-Man is, right? And aren't they going to think about like, wow, we know who Spider-Man is. He's helped us out, but we don't know who Spider-Man is. So is there potential that we might see a little bit more Stark Tech maybe before they like close out the movie for that? Who knows?
I mean, possibly.
Worth
I feel like we're like he's still going to have certain aspects of the suit, but I feel like because we saw him sewing a suit up, so I think he noticed.
Mm-hmm.
I think too that at least this is what I'm creating in my head. He noticed that his brothers, made their own stuff.
Yeah,
like their stuff was handmade. And he's like, you know what? Like, I want to be like those guys. I want to be like those Peters. Like, they did their thing on their own. Like, let me be me. Let me do my thing by myself. So it could be a simple.
Good point.
It's a simplified answer, but. I feel like he just needed to do that because like if you see a lot of kids that are like being spoiled, and then like they're just they're getting everything they want, and some kids are fine with it, but then a lot of kids they might grow up and be like, no, I'm tired of just dad giving me everything that I ever want. I want to actually earn something on my own. I want to know what it feels like to actually work hard and earn something on my own. So I feel like this is a good point for Tom's Peter. And I think to me too, like when he went in the coffee shop, I'll never forget. He had a grown man fit on. He had a grown man outfit on with the blazer, with the trench coat thing he had going on with the sweater. Like he wasn't dressing up with comic tees like me. He wasn't doing all that stuff. He's dressed like a young, mature man, in my opinion. I feel like that was just a visual element they had to throw in just to show the shift between high school and college and becoming a man. So that's just my long explanation of that. I just think he just needed to shed that.
It's awesome that he had the training wheels of Stark and the shadow of Stark to give him that progression and give us the satisfaction in the end of him stepping out as a man.
Good point.
All right. So any other final words from anyone? Anything that you guys want to throw in before we wrap this up?
This is an honor to be here. I appreciate you guys. Man, Durbin like literally broke my brain a little bit.
Yeah, mine too. Mine too. I'm gonna have to.
I can't wait till Twitter starts freaking out about this, and then all the trades are gonna be like, "Oh wow, that's what's going on," and then Emergency Awesome gonna. Anyway, I'm just saying that no, this has been amazing, and I really appreciate you guys to do this. Hopefully we do it again for whatever's next. I think the next thing is, of course, the Matrix that's going to be coming out tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
And then next year, the Batman. So I mean,
we got Morbius too, pretty early.
Right.
I'm so excited for Morbius.
We got Morbius, I think, somewhere around January, the end of January. We got Morbius. Good stuff.
I wanted to throw this out there too. I don't know if any of you all are interested. I think I sent a message to Matthew. It may have been to everybody in a little chat about. I'm going to be doing something soon for The Witcher season 2, which was absolutely fat. Like I love
the second season too.
Oh yeah,
man,
it was so much better than the first one. Just
it was
weird to say, but it's true.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I think because they pulled it out of all the time jumps that you see in the book. So it wasn't as confusing.
The time jump drove me nuts in season 1, and then I didn't even finish it. I need to go back and finish it.
No, please. Yeah, season 2 lives up, and it starts and finishes off in a way that is like. I will say this: it reminded me, and I hate to make the comparison, but I will, because we need to remember how great Game of Thrones was in the early seasons. I will say this: the season 2 reminded me of the types of storylines that you would get from like Game of Thrones writers early seasons, with setting up different things. We're not going into detail. Just set up things in a structured way that you're like, okay, this can get really big, and they can explore a lot of things, even for non-book readers that are going to be like, man, this is such a big deal. Like I put that out there because I'm going to be probably trying to do a live stream about it where we can dig deep into it. And like, for those that are unaware, I always push this. If you're like me and you don't have a lot of time to read, you can get all the Witcher books either from your library, the audio book, or on Audible. But I don't know, Matthew, I don't know if you started listening to it, but the Witcher on Audible is fantastic, amazing. The way that they do that on Audible. So, but to me, The Witcher, even in terms of the lore and how they do everything with all that's involved in this storytelling, puts Game of Thrones to shame. And if they keep producing it and really get into it, I'm just crazy excited about it. So we'll have to do a chat on Dark Side. Sam, I know you got to head out. So once again, man, thanks for stopping by, man. I appreciate you having you here and us be able to do this and talk about this stuff. We definitely got to talk about Matrix. I definitely have to hit you up after the stream so we can plan that up. But yeah, man, thanks for coming. Of course, as always.
Yeah.
You want to do a little outro for yourself?
Yeah, sure. Al, hit me up about the Witcher, because the new series is coming up really soon. I'm
Blood
really
Origin.
So we can talk for days on that. But no, you guys can follow us on Team JVS. We are on Instagram. We're on Twitter. I am the editor-in-chief of Team JVS as an outlet. I am also one of the critics there. We've got a lot of great content. We also have a website, teamjvs.com, which we're doing a lot of the written reviews and stuff as well. We got a lot of festivals coming up. We got a lot of crazy television and film content coming up, and some interviews that you guys really don't want to miss, but we'll talk about that more later. But yeah, thanks for having me, Matt.
Of course, man, guys. Sam, thanks for coming, man. Appreciate it as always.
All right, guys, we're actually going to follow Sam a little bit. So any closing thoughts that you guys may have about the film, and then you can do your outros, and just take your time, but anyone can start.
I don't know that I have any closing thoughts on the film, because it was just an awesome film. And I loved that they carried on all the character arcs right where we left them off. And so it was very cool to see where all these characters, the bad guys and the Spider-Man, progressed, and I loved it. So yeah, if you want to check out Durbania, go ahead and head over there. It's that YouTube channel, and I'd love to have you come over and talk, and been building a community around the show The Chosen. So if you know what that show is, or you've been watching that show, I'd love to have your conversation about that. But I also do all the fun, nerdy stuff like Spider-Man, Iron Man, DC stuff, and I would love to have you come over. I'm a huge DC fan, by the way. I love Marvel. I love DC. I'm one of those weirdos that likes them both. Long live the Snyder Cut.
All right, we'll go with you, Franklin.
Honestly, this movie was everything I wanted and more. I don't know what else I could say that I haven't said already. I got Tobey Maguire, and I got my intro into more of the Andrew Garfield universe. Couldn't ask for more. Matt, again, thank you so much for having me on. You've been such a pleasure in class, and we've had so many great conversations. I'm glad the internet can now be a part of some of it. Yeah, if you guys want to check me out, I stream on Twitch. I'm a little new to YouTube, but I've been streaming on Twitch for a couple years. It's twitch.tv/bagboy, BAGBOII. And it's same thing on Twitter. I stream League of Legends. I'm currently in the middle of climbing ranked to get to gold and platinum. But otherwise, I kind of just hang out with some of my friends. We talk pop culture, play some variety games sometimes with stream and stuff like that. So yeah, seriously. And again, thank you so much, Matt.
Oh, the misery. Everybody wants to be my enemy. Definitely League of Legends, dude.
We got to talk about Arcane for sure.
We do.
Arcane was good too.
Amazing. Vi's one of my favorite
Very good.
characters
That's the next show
in the
I'm
entire
gonna watch.
universe.
So
Hey,
I'm glad to
Durbin,
hear
you
such
gotta
rave reviews.
hit up Arcane. One of the
can't wait.
best
It looks
animated
great.
projects.
It looks great. I can't wait.
Sideline uppercut, roundhouse kick content that Netflix just hit us with out of nowhere, like Randy Orton on a Sunday afternoon after match. This dude was just going. You gotta check out Arcane.
And you don't need to play League of Legends at all to understand it.
No,
That's what, and they did it perfectly.
Yep,
perfectly.
It stands on its own as a great, just overall story. It's art. It's literally
the art is gorgeous, man.
From the music to the acting. Haley Steinfeld is in this. Okay, all right.
She sure
music, the acting, the fight choreography to the virtual camera angles and everything, the 360 panning shots, everything was just, yeah, let me not nerd out about Arcane and the Spider.
I was about to say, you're about to get me going. Yeah.
But Al, yeah, closing thoughts and you plug everything.
I mean, I liked it. I really enjoyed it. And as I said, I wasn't really looking forward to it coming in, but man, it was absolutely fantastic. The story build, the execution of it, I thought was amazing. I really enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to seeing what comes next with Marvel Sony collabs. So I feel like we got a lot of stuff set up for this. And now with the Multiverse of Madness, man, like, look, I might have to buy four tickets just to get seats in front of, behind me, and on both sides. So I can have my piece. I don't have any knuckleheads sitting around me. So I really enjoyed it. You guys can find me at Darkside Reviews. Just come on over. We do much of what Matthew does. One of the big things that we do that does really well, which I'm trying to do more of, is we do a lot of versus videos. So I have a lot of John Wick versus people. And right now I'm working on a versus video, which should be interesting, where we are going to put Moon Knight against Batman. And see who,
nice.
See who comes out on top. So Darkside Reviews is where you can find me on YouTube. I am also on Twitter and Instagram. Come on over and join us. We'd love to have you.
Guys, please follow, subscribe to every single one that we've had on the channel today. Each and every one of them are awesome people. And yeah, man, they just make great stuff, man. Franklin's a okay dude, you know.
I do my best.
Hey, look,
that's all you can do.
Look, Franklin's a pretty awesome guy. No, for real. Franklin's an awesome guy. Definitely check him out. I'm pretty sure you guys are gonna love his streams. Definitely check out Al as well. He said that versus stuff, Al, I didn't even know he was doing it. I gotta hop on that. Hop and see what you're doing over there on Darkside Reviews.
Check out his most controversial one, which was Superman versus what's his face from The Boys.
Versus Homelander.
Yeah, wasn't that your most controversial one?
That was the most controversial one, where everybody called me every kind of expletive under the sun for the outcome I gave of that. I was, oh man. I was like, oh man, I didn't even know they could. I didn't know people had curse words like that. I was so.
Where's that? That's awesome. Hey, Iden B. Jacobs out here showing love in the comments. He's followed everyone in the chat, everyone in the video, in the stream.
Appreciate that.
Subscribe to them. So, Iden B. Jacobs, thank you. And everyone who's been participating in the comments as well. Love every single one of you guys. I appreciate you being here, listening to this dude rattle himself off all night and just joining us. Nerds talking about Spider-Man. I appreciate it. And those who are watching this on the replay, watching this replay, I appreciate that as well. If you happen to be new to the channel, please consider subscribing. Check out some of the other content on the channel. If there's any ways you guys could, things that you want to see on the channel, ways that I can improve content, whatever it is, just feel free to leave a comment, man. Feel free to leave a comment. And if it's a troll comment, I'll probably respond with a random fact of the day. I've been sharing that with Franklin earlier today. I've just been responding with random facts just because I feel like, we all could use a random fact of the day. I feel
everybody loves a good fact.
Everyone loves a good fact. I didn't know that
amazing,
cats clean themselves 30 to 50% of the day. What else? I'm like, they're cleaner than dogs, so that's pretty dope. So
hey Franklin too, I'm gonna hit you up, man. So we definitely, because one of us I'm sure will do another live about Doctor Strange, but I definitely want you in on that.
Please, I will talk to the point where you will have to shut me up. Guaranteed.
So I'm definitely going to get you in on. Incidentally, I've been working on also a Doctor Strange versus Dr. Fate video as well. So
very nice.
So awesome, that'll be interesting too.
I'm looking for that. I'm looking forward to that one too. All right, that's it, guys. Love, peace, and hair grease. Y'all take care, and we'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.
Take care, guys.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Later. Are we still live and he's gone?
Did he just drop on us?
That was my question.
I think that's what happened. I think we're holding the show now.
Let's
talk about our king. Still going.
I don't know why I always do that. I always click the leave studio button instead of the end broadcast button. Okay, now we're leaving.
That was a practice.
Goodbye for
real one.
I was about to say maybe